Today in the Diz List, we discuss the top 5 ways to save time at Walt Disney World.
Welcome to the Diz List, the podcast that ranks everything in Walt Disney World. I'm Nick.
And I'm Rob, and welcome to episode 56, where we discuss the top 5 ways to save time at Walt Disney World.
I'm going to be using a lot of these tips this week.
Really?
Yeah, because I'm heading
Where are
down.
you going?
I'm going to Disney World.
You haven't even told me.
Yeah, I won the Super Bowl. so we're headed to Disney
That was
World.
the perfect thing you could have said right there.
Don't they go to Disneyland, or do they go to Disney World?
I think it's World, and it has been perennially. And then I think when the Rams won the Super Bowl, they had a deal that they were going to Disneyland because the Rams were LA based when they won the Super Bowl this time.
Right. All right. Well, I'm going to be using these tips, and I just wanted to let everybody know that. So this is coming out on a Wednesday, 2 days later. 3 days later. So on Saturday, I am flying down to Disney. So pay attention to our socials. There will be a lot of stuff.
I'm looking forward to it. It's going to make me feel like I'm there again with you.
So I'm going to be doing some food and wine content. I'm going to be doing some lives. I'm going to try to do some lives. Maybe invite you in on one. Maybe from the balcony at my hotel over at Bay Lake.
You're not going to like randomly call me and so here's what Cars Land is really like.
No, I don't mind doing that. That's actually kind of cool. That was fun.
Well, I mean, you can shoot me a text during the day. We can try to do that.
Yeah, we can arrange something.
Yeah.
Maybe I'll go live with one of our friends, possibly.
Oh, cool.
You know, and
we'll see who you run into down there.
Yeah, we'll see. We'll just see if I can go live with one of my friends.
That'd be great.
One of our very special friends who may or may not have suggested this episode on social media. So. Yeah. I'm excited. Like, I think, everybody gets excited for Disney trips, right?
Well, I mean, there could be people listening who haven't been to Disney. I would guess probably the majority of the people that listen are Disney fans like us.
Yeah, we packed today. So that's like,
it's going to be a
real.
reality.
Yeah, it's real. What I'm excited for the most is being back at Food and Wine, obviously. But last time when I was there we had started the podcast, and so we were doing content or whatever, but we had like 50 followers on Instagram. Mm-hmm. Then it got to 100 maybe by the end of the trip. It was so weird because we ran into somebody who was like, "Oh yeah, I follow you guys on Instagram."
Yeah.
I was like,
never thought that would happen.
PhotoPass photographer. But now we have not a following, but we have a bigger fan base, a bigger listener base. So I'm excited that if somebody is like one of our followers, they might actually be like, "Oh, I'm in such and such." And if that's the case, if I'm in the same park as you, come and find me. I probably will have some stickers with me.
We may need to post another photo of the two of us again. I found a good one the other day that we hadn't posted before of the two of us. I can't remember what it was. I have to go back and look.
No, but for real, like reach out on Instagram, and especially if you just see me, if I've just posted something, I'm clearly on the app. So just like
shoot
a DM,
if you're posting a picture loving Animal Kingdom, and you're following us on social media,
and you just got off of Expedition Everest, like
shoot a DM come and hang out.
Absolutely. What I'm planning on doing is kind of doing some quick like story stuff with Food and Wine, some picture stuff, but I'm doing some special stuff for our patrons. I have added them all to a close friends group.
Cool.
And so in our stories, maybe I'll go live with our patrons.
Great.
And it's not too late, because if you were to go ahead and add us in the next couple days, I will add you to that same list, and we'll make sure that you're getting the same treatment.
So the best way to sign up is go to patreon.com/DizListPod. DizListPod, all one word?
All one word.
Okay.
Yep. And it's not expensive. And the cool thing is, too, you can now purchase, the way that they allowed us, we're testing out a beta, our minis. If you have a mini that you're like, I really wonder what they think about that, but I don't really want to commit to a monthly fee, you can purchase like individual mini episodes now.
Right. We talked about that the other day. So if you are a Star Wars fan, like we are, and
Yeah.
I know a lot of our listeners are too, if you're a Star Wars fan and you say, I don't really want to do the Patreon thing, but I really want to hear the Galactic Star Cruiser episode or
Our top 5 list. You might not want to hear that one. You might not be happy with us.
Yeah.
Actually, I think you might enjoy it. So yeah, that's just another plug. But really, what I would say is, if you're listening to this and you aren't already following us on Instagram, like maybe you follow us on Twitter or Threads or YouTube or TikTok. I'd be shocked if you follow us there and not on Instagram. But if that's the case, make sure you're following us on Instagram, because that's where I'm going to be posting most of this content during this trip. I'm excited. My kids are excited. We have a lot of cool, fun stuff. I'm going to be eating that stupid turkey leg that Rob told me I had to do. So I'm going to do it. And I'm going to eat the scorching hot wings. And I'm going to eat the pickle milkshake. So
I have decided that when we go down next, that I will do the same thing. So even though I have called you out,
have you had
on the turkey leg before?
No. Okay, so we're both we're turkey leg virgins.
Yep.
Got it. Okay.
So I will do the same.
Okay.
And I know I called you out, but I don't feel comfortable calling out somebody on something if I wouldn't do it too.
I don't think that you wouldn't do it. I think it's funny. And you know what? The number of times I get comments from people, like little DMs that just say something about just about that, like literally like, haha, turkey leg, or somebody will send me a reel that talks about mustard just randomly. So maybe I'll put mustard on the turkey leg to eat it. That would be the epic one.
I could see you doing that. That would be excellent.
Maybe I'll do that.
Yeah.
I'm as you can tell, I'm excited, but we're going to head off to our halftime show, which this week is brought to you by patron Brian V. Brian's a great friend of the show, and hopefully we can bring him lots of fun content coming up. So, Brian V., this one's going out to you.
Go Giants.
About a year ago, Rob and I decided we were going to start a podcast about Disney. We had no clue how we were going to distribute it or how we were going to record it. Yes, he had an amateur recording studio in his house, but then we found Spotify for podcasters, and it turns out we didn't need any of that. We could record on our phones, on our computers. It really doesn't matter. The best part about all of it is they not only are free, but they allow you to make money. And if you're more of the visual person, you can make video podcasts. Ever since we started podcasting with Spotify for Podcasters, we've been able to make friends around the Disney community. I know it sounds silly, but some of these people who we've never met have become really and truly good friends. I hope you'll try out Spotify for Podcasters. And if you really want to make a podcast, you should go to www.spotify.com/podcasters to get started. Trust me, it's a lot of fun, and you have no idea who you'll meet.
Welcome back. Today we're going to count down the top 5 ways that we save time in Walt Disney World. Everybody's always looking to save time in Walt Disney World.
Yeah, when I sat down to do this list, my first thought was, I only really have one thing. I can't think of anything else.
Really?
And then, and I sort of paused and went, wait a minute. I actually have quite a few things that are good.
Yeah, I've got a few.
But immediately I was like, there's really only one thing.
I have one that probably should be 2.
Yeah.
But I'm leaving it as 1 because they both rely on the same concept.
Okay.
So I don't have an honorable mention because of that. Because 1 was the honorable mention. I was like, wait a second.
Yeah.
That really is the same concept. So
I don't even really have an honorable mention, I don't think.
No, that's like I had one that was an honorable mention. And I decided that it shouldn't be an honorable mention because it's very similar to another one I had on my list.
Okay.
So I just put them under 1. So it's really 2 things. But they're the same. We'll get there. Not right away, because it's not number 5 for me.
Right, and I think we may overlap. I don't know.
Yeah, I'm sure.
We'll see.
Sure we overlap at least on. I think we overlap on 2 at least.
I say 3, and I think we're going to overlap on this one. I'm about to say
probably.
So my number 5, I talk about a lot, and it's a big deal for me. and it's come up on quite a few different lists before. And one time when I shared this, you looked at me and you're like, it's not a secret. And that is the mobile food ordering. Remember that when it was like secrets?
Yeah.
And you're like, that's not a secret.
Remember that time we mashed up on number 5?
Yeah.
So my number 5 is mobile order as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I have a friend who is going to Disney World this week, and they're bringing my daughter also. So my daughter's going this week.
I was like, I'm not bringing your daughter. Then I remembered that your daughter's...
different friend.
Yeah.
She and her daughter are going to go down and bring mine as well. And I had one of those, it was funny. I felt like I should have hit record because I basically gave her a solo episode of what you need to know to go to Disney World today. So I went through this list of all these different things, and this was a biggie to mobile order the food to
I'm
save
officially
time.
mad at you because
you wanted to be there?
No, because you gave her a free episode. We earned like $0.015. You should have directed her to the episode Know Before You Go with Rope Drop and Park Hop.
That's true.
I'm just kidding. Mobile ordering, like, I agree with you. And I'm sure you told her you got a mobile order because
I did. And I said the best way to do it is, okay, I used Space Mountain. I'm not sure why that popped in my head, but it did. So I said, okay, you're waiting in line for Space Mountain. You're standing around.
100%.
Maybe you have Genie Plus, maybe not. Let's say you're in the regular standby queue and you got to wait a half an hour average, right?
Yep.
You're standing there and, we'll call her mom. Mom brings her phone up and starts looking through and says, okay, where do we want to eat? I don't know. Let's eat at, Cosmic Rays. Okay, fine. She starts scrolling through the menu. She picks what she wants. She hands her phone to my daughter and then hands it to her daughter, and they all kind of click and do what they want to do. And the beauty of that, and I always like to point this out too, for anybody that has any kind of food allergies, whether it's gluten or shellfish or peanut, anything like that, if you're doing mobile ordering and you look at the menu and you scroll all the way to the bottom, that's going to give you, dessert. And then beyond dessert is all of the different food allergies and the options that you can get for all the people with food allergies.
Side note, on any menu on the app, do that for your allergy stuff on any of the menus. But mobile ordering, because it's arranged in the same order as the menu, absolutely the same thing. Yep.
Yeah. And back to the food allergy stuff again. I talk about this a lot on the podcast, but I know there's always new people who are listening. Our family, 3 out of 4 members, I'm the one that does not have celiac disease, but I eat gluten-free, but 3 out of 4 of us have celiac disease. And one of the reasons we always tell everyone, I get this question all the time, like, why do you want to keep going back to Disney World? Well, not only is it great and it's super magical, but I will tell you, no matter where you go, anywhere on property, and most of the restaurants in Disney Springs, I would say too, if you go up to order and you say, I have a food allergy, or my wife, son, and daughter have celiac disease, whoever the cast member is will look at you and they will say, I will go get the chef for you.
Yeah.
And anywhere between 30 seconds and, 4 or 5 minutes, which, trust me, is worth that 4 or 5 minutes.
Yeah.
The chef comes out and says, how you guys doing today? Oh, we're good. What kind of food allergy do we have? Well, we have celiac disease and we can't have gluten. He goes, I'm fully familiar with that. Here's some of the options that I can do for you today. And most of the time, not all the time, but you can look back in the kitchen and the chef is preparing your meal on a separate area, free of gluten, peanuts, shellfish, whatever you have an allergy to.
I don't have any food allergies. Nobody in my family, my immediate family anyway, has it. We went with my mother-in-law and we traveled with you last summer, and I will tell you that every single time, my mother-in-law has a different food allergy. Hers are nuts and mushrooms. Mm-hmm. And every single time, without fail, come out, what do we have? Okay, this is what I can do with that dish. You wanted that dish, it has mushrooms in it, or it has nuts in it. I can do it, I'm going to modify it for you.
Right. Or they tell you can't, and I would avoid that because we cannot avoid the sauce comes with mushrooms in it. So you could try A, B, C, or D instead.
Yeah. So I got to say, and I know we got sidetracked and started talking about allergies here, but
it's important because it has to do with the mobile ordering too.
Right, yeah. I will say just my 2 cents on the mobile ordering part of things, though. What's really nice about it is you brought up exactly what I was going to get to, which was you can be doing that waiting in line for a ride rather than waiting in line for your food.
Right.
Because then you walk out and you can just hit, I'm here, and your food will be ready.
Yep.
It really is a time saver. At first, I was skeptical and I was like, really? Come on, I want to talk to a person. What the heck? And then you know what? I don't really like talking to people. So I might as well.
Good thing you like talking to me.
No, but you know what I'm saying? Like it's a fight in our household. Who's going to call the Chinese takeout place or the pizza place?
Right.
You know, I don't want to have to call them. This is the same thing. It's like, I can order it on my phone.
Yep.
Cool.
Yeah.
Awesome. And it really is a time saver. So I'm not shocked that it's your number 5. I'm not shocked we matched up with this one. I think there's 2 others on our list that are going to match up.
Yeah, me too.
But yeah, that's my number 5. So since it's both of our numbers 5, we're technically back to you on number 4.
Yeah. So number 4, I had something else here, and it's sort of become a joke in the podcast, and it was, footwear. But really, wearing the right footwear is really not going to save you that much time. Maybe.
Yeah. I mean, maybe you can run a little bit. Not run. Sorry, you can't run. You can skip.
Yeah.
But whatever. Yeah.
So I kind of went back and forth on this one, and then a different one popped in my head, and I thought this might be kind of a good thing, and a tip we've never mentioned before that I think would be kind of really a good idea, and that is to discuss the rides and attractions ahead of time with your kids so they know what to expect.
So can I modify your title?
Yeah, go ahead.
And just call it planning in general?
Yeah.
So I had this. If I would have put an honorable mention, this would be an honorable mention for me. Because planning's huge, right?
Yeah.
And if you discuss with your kids, you don't want to get there and be like, what do you want to do next? Because guess what? It's just like ordering food. Nobody knows what they want to do next.
Right.
So
if you have younger kids, for example, and maybe they're not sure if they want to do the roller coaster or not, maybe you go onto YouTube and you watch a ride through of the roller coaster, and your son or daughter can watch and maybe make up their mind whether or not they want to do it. If they look at it and they're like, nope, I don't want to do Slinky Dog, that's a hard no thanks. And that way it saves you time from waiting in line. And this actually happened to me when we went to, there's a local theme park near Buffalo called Darien Lake. And when my daughter was young, she was like, yeah, I want to go on. There's this roller coaster called the Viper. And he's laughing because it goes upside down multiple times. It's pretty intense. She's like, yeah, I'll do it. So we get in line. We get all the way up to the front. She walks down and gets into the car. She was really little. She was probably like 6, 7 years old. She gets down into the car and just steps back out and goes, nope, I don't want to do it. So my point is not to embarrass my kid, because she'll go on roller coasters now, but the point is that's a time saver.
Well, and like Disney, you can watch ride-throughs, right?
Yes.
I'm not sure if there's a ride-through to watch at Darien Lake.
I don't know. Maybe.
But there's definitely ride-throughs to watch for us at Disney. And so you can watch a ride-through, and your kid can decide then. Obviously, you can't really watch a ride-through of Space Mountain, right?
Hyperspace Mountain, not really.
But it's
hard
to
get into.
Yeah, it's hard. It's so hard to predict. But planning ahead of time, I 100% agree, is a very big part of how you can save time. And of course, Disney's all about planning, but planning like this is definitely a huge one. So, yeah, I agree, 100%. So that was a really good 4. My number 4 is the one I said is kind of 2 rolled into 1.
Okay,
but I gave it one title, called Go Where the People Ain't.
Oh, good point.
So
do you go left or do you go right?
So my point here was, initially what I had was staying in the park when it rains. And then my honorable mention that I bumped up and said this is really the same kind of concept.
Sure.
Was start in the back.
Oh, okay.
So when you go where the people are not located, obviously the lines are going to be shorter.
Yeah.
When it rains, people leave. In particular, certain parks, right? So I'm thinking Animal Kingdom, I'm thinking Hollywood Studios, where there's not a lot of shelter.
Yeah.
They leave. And that's not the time for you to leave. That's the time for you to be like, Space Mountain? Hell yeah, let's go.
Let's knock all these off our list.
Let's get on all this stuff that people are now getting out of line because they are not sheltered. I said Space Mountain. I don't know why I said Space Mountain. I didn't mean Space Mountain. I meant Everest, but whatever.
It's okay.
my point is that when in those parks, those two parks in particular, people leave when it starts raining. They do so in every park, but you know, you got to, and I know what you're saying. Well, if it's raining, they might not run that ride. Yep, you're right. They might.
Yeah, and
But
if there's any threat of lightning, then a
The
lot of
minute that it
outdoors
reopens,
stop.
it's a 5-minute wait. So you want to still be in the parks. So that's part of it. And then the other part that I said, you know, going to the back, when you rope drop, or when you show up to the park at not rope drop, what amateurs think is rope drop, right? Rope drop, real rope drop is like early.
Yes.
Like you're not on vacation early.
Yes.
Which is fine. I plan on doing it a couple times this week. But
I usually do too.
but when you're going to the parks at, let's say the park opens at 8 and you're rolling in at 7:45, that's not real rope drop. And so what you're going to do in that situation is go all the way to the back, because especially like a place like Epcot, okay? People are stopping as they go back to the big attractions, or a place like Hollywood Studios. You don't want to at 7, you get to Hollywood Studios 15 minutes before opening. You walk in as it opens. You should not be getting in line for Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. That's not a good idea, because guess what? Every single family with their kids stopped there too.
Or you could go to a different area and ride 4 rides
Yes.
in the time that you go just to Mickey and Minnie.
So in Magic Kingdom, go left, for instance, because if you're there at that rope drop, the fake rope drop,
Right.
where the whole park opens and like everybody's there, not early entry, guess what? You can go back and ride Big Thunder probably as a walk-on.
Yeah. Or twice.
Yeah. And you might even be able to do Haunted Mansion as a walk-on. And you might be able to do Pirates as a walk-on. All in the beginning, like 15, 20 minutes of your time in the parks. So my biggest advice for saving time, not my biggest, my number 4 advice, but my you know what I mean? One of my things that I always do, one of my biggest advices is you always should go
Where the people ain't.
where the people ain't.
I like that.
I said it because I was like, oh, they added it to the dictionary now. I can do that.
Oh, they did.
Yeah, somewhere in there. I think it's Webster's added it.
Yeah.
I don't Merriam Webster.
So number 3. Number 3, where we live, we don't have this option, and it's not a monorail. where we live, this isn't something that we can really do. When I went out and worked in San Diego for a summer at the San Diego Comic-Con.
That's going on right now. One of our patrons is there.
Really?
Yeah.
That's cool.
Shout out to Jessica.
My buddy Sean, who I went to high school with, he's the one that got me the job out there. So yeah, that's true. This week is Comic-Con. He's been posting pictures from it. And for the first time, I didn't really have any transportation. I didn't know what to do. So I used Lyft. So I loved it. It was really easy to do on the app. And my number 3 time saver is to use Uber or Lyft when you need to get to the park fast.
I did not put this on my list, and I don't know why I didn't, because I use it every single time.
Yeah. So you can use a bus. You can use the monorail, which I guess the monorail is pretty good too, especially if you're on any of the Bay Lake resorts there. But if you are staying at one of the resorts that's further away, honestly, I would use a Lyft and just have someone drop you off kind of in a really convenient spot, depending on what park it is. If you are going to Magic Kingdom, there's kind of an Uber drop-off area.
Unless
you
pony up and you do unless you pony up and pay for mini. If you pay for a minivan, they drop you off at the park.
They do.
Yes, because they're run by Lyft, but they're associated with Disney, so
That's
they drop you way up.
Okay, so they're probably up by the bus loop.
Right. If you take an Uber or a regular Lyft, they drop you off at the TTC.
Right. And that's kind of the area where you buy your tickets, and then you have to take the boat or the monorail to get to the Magic Kingdom.
That is about the only time I would recommend that paying the extra for a minivan might be worth it.
If you're going to Magic Kingdom.
That, or if you absolutely need a guarantee of having child safety seats. Child safety seats do come with every Lyft.
Great.
Or, every minivan.
Right.
Yep.
Well, and to be fair, you're still right, because Lyft is the service that does the minivans.
Correct, but not every Lyft is a minivan.
Correct. So I remember this because when I opened the app, you actually have the option to add in the minivan service. Now they had it, they got rid of it, and then they brought it back again.
Correct. It's a hefty upcharge, but if you're going to Magic Kingdom, it does drop you off right there. So, but I 100%, I can't believe I didn't add this because I use them all the time.
Yeah, it's great, and I think we both did too. I think we used them. Oh, we did, and you got to know your driver, and your driver gave you a tip that one time. And,
Yeah.
And we won't get into that story right now. But the nice thing about them are, yes, it is an extra charge, but you know you're going to get there right away and really quick. So I highly recommend it.
Yeah, I would too. And a budgeting thing, and this is a very popular credit card with a lot of people who do Disney and traveling. The Chase Sapphire cards all give I think it's 5, depending on what level of cards, anywhere from 5 to 10 times points on Lyft purchases. So I get like 7 points per dollar spent on Lyft purchases because of the card level that I own. And that's just something for budgeting. I know that's not time saving. I know this isn't a budgeting show, but
this stuff comes up. We talk about it.
Yeah, it's something you should be aware of. Yeah,
we have to talk about that Chase Sapphire at some point too, because that's something I'm looking at.
Yeah, that's definitely a good for you out there who like to travel a lot. That is a great card to have.
I mean, I don't know how we would turn that into a theme or a list, but
budgeting or there's entire
and we've
threads.
done the Southwest card and gotten free flights from that, and I mean there's all kinds of different things
could
do that. I don't know how we could do it. Maybe it's a Patreon episode.
But, we'll see.
But that's a good one too. So number 3 for me is use Uber or Lyft. I've never used Uber. I know it's maybe more popular, but I've always used Lyft. I think it's great, and I've never had any issues with it. I've used Uber before.
I've used both. Yes.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, they're basically the same. It's Coke and Pepsi.
In Orlando, I almost always use Lyft. In other cities, I almost always use. Well, no, I don't. Not now that I get extra points, but Uber tends to be more popular in most cities, but Orlando, I find that Lyft is more popular.
Okay. It was in San Diego too.
So number 3 for me is something that some people here that listen to us may know already. Some people who listen to us may have never heard of. And it is something that there is a service fee potentially attached to it depending on what level you want to get. And it is the Lines app. So the Touring Plans Lines app.
Oh, how did I forget about that? That's brilliant. And recently has been proven to be
way
extremely
better.
Accurate.
Yeah, it's been way more accurate than Disney.
You opened up a really good can of worms.
Yeah.
Continue.
So, Disney Dish, which is hosted by Jim Hill and Len Testa. Len Testa's business, one of his businesses, I think he has other things he does, but he is I believe the CEO or whatever he is of Touring Plans.
Yes.
Touring Plans, they release the unofficial guide to, and then insert Disneyland or Disney World. I think they have a Universal one too. I'm not positive on that.
Yes,
but
they do.
I can tell you
they do.
that when we first decided we're going, we bought a book. They're great because they have guides about what people rated these things. What did people rate this restaurant? What do people rate this restaurant? Who's it good for? Who's it not good for? And then in addition to that, they have there's an ability to then subscribe to this service for a nominal charge for a yearly subscription.
Yeah, it's not much.
If you've already bought the book, especially, and you can build your own day out and plan. We don't do that so much where we plan it out and then have it optimize it for us anymore. But Disney Genie, not Genie Plus, but Disney Genie, the tip board, the times are not exactly accurate. Disney has a motive, right? Disney has a reason to give you times that aren't accurate.
Yeah.
They want to move you to different parts of the park. Touring Plans doesn't have that motive. Touring Plans' motive is to give you the best prediction. And so the Lines app is actually populated with actual people standing in line, timing themselves. So when I stand in line, when I get into line for Space Mountain on day 1, when I go to the Magic Kingdom, I'm going to hit start timer. And then when I sit down in my little rocket ship, I'm going to hit stop timer on the app. And that's going to report back to their system that right now it just took somebody waiting in that line X amount of time. And it's going to populate, and then it's going to also use that to tell other users how many, what the crowd level was in the park. So the Lines app for me saves me a lot of money, and I also like it because it's crowdsourcing data. It's a very interesting concept, crowdsourcing data, and I just love it. It's way more. We saw it last year.
Yeah, and I've used it the year before because you had suggested it to me. So you did it on your first trip and said, "This is great." You showed it to me, and so I got it's like a yearly fee. It's not really like a subscription. I mean, you just kind of buy it for a year and you have access to it. So I did it and used it. I thought it was fantastic. And then when we went with you, you're like, I already got it. Don't worry about buying it. And because we were together all the time.
Yeah.
And you used it. And most recently, and Nick mentioned that there's a podcast called The Disney Dish. And they did a whole segment where Len was talking about how incredibly different Disney's posted wait times were versus the actual wait times. Because not only do they have users, but he has employees too. Oh God, this is like the greatest job of all time. To just standing in line is not awesome, but you just go on rides all day for Len Testa. What a job that is.
They want to check to see how accurate the statistics that they're using are.
Yeah.
As a math guy, as a stats teacher, I'm like all about this.
Yeah,
I love listening to it. I know other people might not be as into the numbers thing, but I can tell you that app is way better than Disney's, and it will tell you which rides you really should go. And it even gives you a little hint. It says, ride now, ride anytime, wait until later.
Yeah.
So, like, if you don't know, right, and you're like, oh, 35 minutes, that's not bad, but it's like for Journey into Imagination, don't wait 35 minutes for Journey, but you don't know because it's your first time. They will tell you, don't do it. Wait till later.
And the other nice thing, you kind of talked about this quickly, but I want to spend a little bit more time on it. When you go into that app, they will actually build a day for you, similar to what Genie does. And to be fair, Touring Plans had it first.
Yes,
and then
they did. And Len has kind of given shots to them.
And then the Genie service, not Genie Plus, but the Genie service that gives you suggestions on what you can do is similar to what Len does with his business. But you can go in there and say, okay, I want to do Animal Kingdom, and I have young kids, and they kind of like plan out a day for you. Yeah. And if it doesn't work, you can like shuffle it and reset and try different things.
You can optimize it. You can change it the way you want. Yeah, absolutely. It's a great plan.
Mix a whole plan. And okay, I'm going to eat here at this time. So if you're somebody who likes to plan but doesn't really know where to go or what to do,
which was us in 2019.
Yeah, that part of the app is perfect.
Yeah,
now
absolutely.
It's not the only thing it does. The lines and the times, that is kind of the bread and butter. Everything else is, kind of just, I don't want to use two analogies with bread and butter and icing on the cake because I don't want to put butter on the cake on the toast.
Yeah. But that was my number 3. So that brings us to our number 2 and number 1, which I believe I will be shocked if we do not line up on numbers 2 and 1. I know we're going to line up on I almost guarantee you. I don't know.
We're not going to line up on 2, but we'll line up on 1.
Okay, go ahead.
Unless your 2 is my 1.
I don't think so.
Okay, number 2, a time saver, and you're going to laugh because you've experienced with me. My number 2 is learn the map ahead of time. Learn where everything is. So I have memorized every single app in every single park. Before I went to Disneyland and California Adventure, I used the app and memorized where everything was.
Yeah.
So I didn't need to walk around. I knew, of course I need to walk around, but I didn't need to stare at my phone to figure out where everything was.
Right.
Had the map memorized, we show up, I know where all the things are. I'm ready to go.
Right.
And that saved us an immense amount of time.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely does. I'm mad that I didn't. Yeah.
I don't know what your number 2 is.
My number 2 is a big time saver. Trust me.
I bet. So is this.
But that's yeah.
Know where you're going.
Yeah. If you don't know where you're going, it takes you a little while to get there. Yeah, because then your shortcuts become long cuts, and then that doesn't save time.
Yeah, and it was a nice benefit too. When we had the big group, Nick was like, "Okay, you know where you're going, go," and he'd kind of let me loose, and everyone kind of followed me and knew where to go. But it's something I take a lot of time doing, and
you're super visual, right? You're an artist.
Yeah, and that's what I do. I have a visual map in my head. I'm not great with numbers, and again, that's. Nick and I are chocolate and peanut butter. We're good at
chocolate and peanut butter.
Yeah, we're both things that are good but different.
This
But,
week's
yeah.
this week's social media snippet is brought to you by Reese's.
Chocolate and peanut butter. Yeah, we have the visual art guy and we have the numbers and math guy. So
Yeah.
they work pretty well together. So my number 2, it's a biggie, is look at that map, learn where everything is, and that way if you want to get over to Space Mountain and you're over in Frontierland, you need to know how to get there.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's it. I didn't think you would have that, maybe, but
Yeah.
it's a
You
huge
win.
one for me.
You win.
No, that's it.
No,
for
I
me
really-
personally, that's a big deal.
It is a very big deal. I guess I was lumping it into your planning, but that's a different kind of planning, memorizing stuff like that.
Yep.
Especially in certain parks. Like I feel like I always not get lost, but get turned around in Animal Kingdom. Animal Kingdom is the one that always gets me.
Yeah.
The other parks, I mean, they're pretty straightforward, but Animal Kingdom gets me every time.
The hardest part in Animal Kingdom is, well, north, or the top part, over by where the kind of where you get into Rafiki's Planet Watch and all of the, I don't want to call it zoo stuff, but the different trails, the discovery trails. That's a better term for it. That area can get a little bit confusing.
Yeah.
You're right.
Yeah.
It's, you know.
You can get turned around and it's easy to happen.
So yeah, number 2, learn the map ahead of time.
So number 2, I'm going to give a shout out. Number 2, my shout out is going to our good friends, Katie and Aaron with Rope Drop and Park Hop, because my number 2 is Rope Drop.
Oh, there you go.
Because
That's a time saver.
if
That's obvious too.
we did the entire Hollywood Studios, everything we wanted to do.
By lunchtime.
I mean, we ate.
Well, not really.
we did.
Maybe
we
2
did 2
o'clock.
things after lunch. We were out of there before the real heat of the day hit.
Yeah.
We were able to do it all that we wanted to do that day. Grab a bite to eat, a small bite. Like we ate a small bite over at Baseline while you guys were at ABC Commissary, I think.
I don't remember where we ate.
I think it was ABC Commissary. It wasn't Backlot. You guys ate it.
No, is that or Pizza Rizzo?
Oh, it might have been Pizza Rizzo.
It was
You're
Pizza
right.
Rizzo.
So either way, we did everything by like 2 o'clock. Now we purchased an individual lightning lane, and we did use Genie Plus, but rope dropping made it so that the stuff that we didn't have Genie Plus like lightning lanes for,
We could do quickly.
correct. I'm telling you, and in certain parks it's even bigger. Animal Kingdom, you can walk on to Expedition Everest.
Yep.
If
Any of those.
if you have early park entry because you stayed at a Disney resort, you could knock out Flight of Passage and Navi River Journey in an hour. I mean, that's huge.
It's huge.
Usually you're waiting 2 hours for one of them
Or more.
So yeah, mine's rope drop. People are like, well, why would you wait in a line so that you can avoid waiting in lines? And it's different when you're standing when the park's open and and I've said this before on the podcast. When you're standing in a line after the park has opened, you are wasting your park time. When you're standing in a line before the park is opened, who cares? What's the difference? So you didn't get to sleep in an extra 20 minutes. So you didn't get to have a bad coffee like that you made in your room. Right? I just don't get it. Like it to me it makes sense. It does. And you know what? Some of the coolest interactions you'll see of the day happen that early in the morning.
They do.
The cast members are ready to go. Walking down Main Street when you get in and you're headed to rope drop and all the cast members have their Mickey gloves on and they're waving to you.
And they're fresh. They've just woken up.
Yeah, they
You're
are
the first people.
Yeah, they are not grumpy yet.
No.
It's not 125 degrees heat index yet.
Yeah.
They are happy to see you. I mean, they're generally happy people anyway. But but your point is not lost on me. So yeah, that's my number 2 is rope dropping.
That's great. Honestly, our number 2s, and I'm sure we're going to match up on number 1, but our number 2s are both super crucial. They're biggies. So, you know, I figure we'd match up on a couple, but I think the fact that we deviated a little bit is helpful for listeners.
I agree. I'm glad we did. I was worried I was going to show up and we'd have all 5.
I am fairly certain that we are going to match up here.
So I'm fairly certain we're going to make one of our good friends mad and another one of our good friends very happy.
Yeah.
One of our good friends, Johnny J with DMSW, hates what my number 1 is.
Yeah, and mine too. But
are we sure? 'Cause we haven't talked about it.
Well,
positive?
I'm assuming I will be here. This will give it away.
Okay.
We have two good friends who are listeners of the show.
Yeah, we're good.
That we are in contact with on the regular, who have their own YouTube station, and this is their. I'll use it again. It's their bread and butter.
Yeah, and they
number one is the same,
and they may have recommended this for the may have recommended this episode.
Yes,
how to save time. Yeah,
so
okay, we're good.
I will say what it is, and then you can get to who the people are when it's your turn. Number one, time saver for Walt Disney World and Disneyland or anywhere is Genie Plus.
Yeah. So I hate to say it, but it is.
I know, and it's an upcharge. I get it, but it is Genie Plus. It's going to save you so much time at the parks. And at one point, this was something that was free, and they called it Fast Pass, and it became an upcharge. But let's say you're a family that has kids that don't do well waiting in lines. Either maybe they just have a short attention span, or maybe or maybe you're with someone with special needs.
Well, then you can do DAS. You can do the DAS system,
right? But then you can still pay to Fast Pass as well.
I agree.
It is so good for so many reasons. But if you can't afford it, okay, if you can't afford it, I would highly recommend setting aside some money, selling some stuff on eBay. It's, I mean, depending on how many people you have in your party, it can add up. But it's definitely cost. It's important.
Here's what I will say to what you just said. I wouldn't necessarily go as far as saying like have a yard sale or sell stuff off on eBay. Here's what I would say instead.
Well, I didn't say sell a kidney.
No, I understand, but hear me out. I think that why do you buy souvenirs? To remember the trip, right?
Yes. I like to get a coffee mug or a pin or something like that.
And you look fondly back on your trip.
Mm-hmm.
If your trip was spent in 120-degree heat index in line to wait for a ride that broke down 3 times along the way, and maybe you didn't even get on it because you wouldn't wait in that line.
Oh boy.
Then that souvenir reminds you of a bad time.
Yeah.
So what if you don't buy the souvenir and instead buy Genie Plus?
And you have a more fond.
And I'm going to tell you, you don't need it at every park. Does it save time at every park? Yes. Do you need it at every park?
Not necessarily.
I don't think it's needed at Epcot, for instance.
There's a good chunk of rides in Epcot that are basically a walk-on.
I think if you're willing to give up your morning and rope drop, you don't need it at Animal Kingdom.
No.
In fact, the people who suggested this show, which we'll reveal now, Ear Scouts, Rob and Eric over at Ear Scouts.
Shout out to them, our buddies.
They just released like what you can do at Animal Kingdom if you don't have Genie Plus.
Mm-hmm.
And you can do a lot. You can get it all done. So I guess my thing is, if you know where to use it and how to use it, Magic Kingdom, it saves you a ton of time.
Yeah, because there's so many different attractions and rides.
Hollywood Studios, it saves you a ton of time because those rides are big hitters.
Yeah. And
again, I know we keep going back to this one podcast, Disney Dish. They were talking on one of their episodes lately that it's a 90%, so 90 to 10, 9 to 1 ratio, I think is what he said, that it is that they take from the lightning lane before they let. So for every 9, or maybe it was 95. Maybe it was every 95 people from the lightning lane, they let 5 people from the standby.
Oh my Lord.
I can't remember what it was. You'd have to go and listen to his.
It was,
he had the numbers. It was
ridiculous.
Pretty
extreme.
So my point is, it's worth it, in my opinion. Now, I know Johnny J, if he's listening, he's going to comment, he's going to yell at us. And I really, honestly, Johnny, I think you're wrong on this one. You do a lot of stuff that's right. I think this one you're wrong on. I don't like that it's a charge. I think it should go back to the old Fast Pass Plus, which is a whole other thing that they might be even doing. But Ear Scouts, like when he blew my mind last year, right? Before we were even creators, we were watching him.
Yep.
And he likens it to playing the slots. And
we say it all the time because, I mean,
it changed my outlook.
Yeah, it really is.
It's a game now. You win a prize, and the prize is you get to get on Space Mountain.
Yeah, so you have the app open. Explain what playing the slots is.
And listen, I don't want to earn any kind of accolades for this because this is 100% Rob and Eric's idea.
Yeah, from Ear Scouts. And if you have not seen their channel, I would say it's a must.
Oh, yeah.
If we have a list of, you want to learn about Genie Plus, there's really only one.
There's only one dude.
All top
yeah.
5 is Ear Scouts.
Yeah. So basically, you open your app and like you whenever you refresh, you pull down on your phone screen, it refreshes. It repopulates the list, and it might give you a better time.
And it does. We've done it.
Yeah. And then you find that better time. Like, oh my God, I'm going to switch from my 3 o'clock return time for Peter Pan's flight to my 10 o'clock in the morning return time. It's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
And you just keep doing that. And it's like a prize you win every time. Changes your outlook totally, I feel. And you don't have to be on your phone all the time. I mean, he even said in one of his recent episodes, like, 10, 15 minutes and like that. And that's if I'm in line. Like a lot of times I just
What else are you doing?
I draw a line somewhere.
Yeah.
So I personally think that Genie Plus in certain situations is worth it.
Yes.
And it is a big time saver.
Yeah.
I agree with you. I'm not shocked we lined up on this one.
Yeah, and I've mentioned this on the podcast before too, but in April we went to Disneyland and California Adventure, and I would like to go back, but we're not going to be there on a regular basis. It's a huge trip and it was expensive for us. So my wife and I talked about it, and she's thrifty and she likes to save money. And we had the discussion, and it was her ultimate decision. She goes, "Yep, we want to get as much done as we can. We're going to buy Genie Plus for the 2 days that we're here." And we did. And I'm glad that we did, because we got to do more. And did I get to do every single ride that I wanted to do? No, but I probably added on about 8 to 10 different things just because we had it.
Yeah. I mean, and I'm not suggesting you get it every day. I mean, you can. Like for us, I went through, I looked on what days I want to get it. We kind of already have it budgeted out. We're like, okay, on this day we're getting Genie Plus, and on this day we're getting Genie Plus. So yeah, that's our number one. And I'm not thinking that's a hot take in the least.
No. And I mean, there's going to be people that don't like it and wish it was back the way it was with Fast Pass. And of course, I'm one of those people too. I used to love that whole system. It was so much fun. And, there's rumors that they may go back to something similar to that. And if they do, great. And if that makes what we're talking about right now antiquated, well,
we'll deal with that. And we'll talk about it.
Yeah.
Obviously Disney changes so quickly. We our shows date themselves, and that's okay.
Yeah.
Do you have anything that you would like to add?
No, I'm happy that when I originally did the list, I was like, man, Genie Plus, that's it. And took a minute and went, okay, there is a whole lot more that besides that. So if you don't use Genie Plus and you're like, I just can't, I can't do it. I can't afford that. You look at the rest of our list, and there's other things that are really going to help you and are really going to save you a lot of time. And we realize that this one does cost money, and Uber and Lyft cost money too. But I mean, you're going to Disney World. Everything's going to cost you
everything's
a lot of money.
Costing money.
You know that going in.
Yeah,
so.
Absolutely.
Yeah, so that's my my final thoughts here.
All right. Well, hopefully you're following us on Instagram and Twitter this week coming up. Instagram, keep an eye out. I'm going to be posting lots of content, lots of stuff from Food and Wine. If you're listening to this in the future and it is, it's already been gone, I'm going to try to remember to put these things in highlights. But you can check us out on Instagram at DizListPod, Twitter at DizListPod, Threads at DizListPod. You guys see a trend, hopefully. Everything. We're all in all the places at DizListPod.
Consistency.
Yeah, it's all about branding. So it's a great, big, beautiful tomorrow, and tomorrow's just a list away.
Tune in next time, and we'll see you real soon.